Thanks, Jimmy. It's great to be working with you. I'm looking so fired up for this. And
Right on.
Jimmy Doom doesn't need an introduction, so we're going to just proceed with the show. Actually, well, we will. He doesn't really need an introduction. Everybody knows him, but just a brief description. Jimmy Doom is a lifetime Detroiter, a writer, actor. He's appeared in such films as Kill the Irishman, Wild Faith, and the upcoming comedy Fun Time. But I think he's still known best as the front man for the legendary punk outfit, the Almighty Lumberjacks of Death. I mean, if you didn't get a chance to see ALD, it's a loss for you. And but
if you have YouTube, you can see it on there.
You can see it on there, but it's not the same as being at a live ALD show. And Jimmy's going to introduce our guest now.
Thank you, Paul. I am Jimmy Doom, alongside our Senior Vice President of Content, Conflict Resolution, and Ego Management, Mr. Rob Asher. Rob Asher, we are thrilled to have as our first guest, rock lifer and Renaissance man, a guy who has done and seen things that would have the Game of Thrones writers go to confession, Mr. Mike Moyanis.
Hey.
Thanks for being here, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
We are thrilled for you to tell the world. Mike got his start years ago. We won't say how many years ago in the rock and roll business.
100.
And yeah, so tell us. I would like to know right off, and I would like the people who don't know. What was the spark? What was the one thing that made you?
Right now, the spark is, let's get your extra mustache hair off the microphone. It's bumming me out.
Okay, housekeeping. Okay, Mike, tell us what. God, are you anal? No, seriously, what was the spark? Was there a person, a moment, a band? What was the thing that made the young Mike Moyanis? And there was a young Mike Moyanis one time. What was the thing that made you want to go into the music business?
Honestly, I always liked music, obviously, but a lot more than I do now. But now that I do it for a living, it's not as fun as it used to be. But Tom Templin was working for Seduce, and me and Sean, his younger brother, were in school together, and he kept playing cassette tapes and whatnot of them, and I was like, I have to see this band. And started going to see him when I was still in high school. And it ruined my life.
At the Ritz?
And it ruined your
No,
life.
no. The first time I ever saw them was the only time Seduce ever wore capes, by the way. But it was with Merciful Fate, Exciter, and King Diamond at the Grand Circus Theater with no heat in December. And basically there's 200 people there, or 250 people there.
That was the one with the vibrating stage, right? The Grand Circus?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was
like
so cold. There were the 200, 300
building. Yeah.
The 300 people that were there all huddled together because it was fucking freezing. I remember everybody's just passing weed around, and I was like, whoa, that chick's not even wearing a jacket. How's she doing that? Well, she's a stripper. This music business stuff looks good. I don't know. That's kind of where it started for me.
That's the embryo. That's the origin story of Mike Moyanis. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Seduce back in that day, they were the kings of Detroit hair rock, Detroit metal.
They were Motley Crue before Motley Crue was.
They were in a movie. They were featured in the...
Yeah, that movie fucked them.
Yeah.
Like, they could have signed with a bunch of different labels, and because of that movie, they signed with IRS. And they were on IRS.
Wow.
So they seriously were better than Motley Crue, better songs.
Yeah,
That whole time was crazy back then, too. Like,
it was an old punk rocker. I remember they were one of the few metal bands that the punks would go to see.
yeah, they would play, like,
locals.
Twist It Loose or a couple different songs that...
Viper's Bite.
Viper's Bite, you'd see the punks and skins jump into the pit, like nobody cared.
Nobody cared that there was Aquanet going on the stage, but it wasn't Mohawks. It was all
care.
poofy. And
Yeah.
I love you, Dave Black, and Chuck Burns. And
I mean, Chuck Burns was also the drummer of Heresy at the time, too. So
yeah, I mean, but even predating.
What band has
Heresy,
he not been in? Let's save some time and mention the band.
he has not been
Chuck
Eastside
Burns.
Elvis
Yeah,
or
he hasn't.
ALD, I don't think.
No, he hasn't worked with me yet. I think
Yet.
he's not going to slum like that. I think he's
So you go to this Grand Circus show, and like you're just some jerky kid who knows one of the guys who works for the band. how did it evolve into where you ended up working?
Well, I started going to more and more. Instead of hanging out with Sean, I started hanging out with Tom and going with him every weekend. The Ritz, Tracks.
Tracks. That was
I actually
a great
had
venue.
that was my favorite venue.
Ramones
actually,
was a sweatbox, man. You were like you
3
jumped into a
3
lake.
days every year. So because of me going to shows at Tracks with him, all of a sudden I became the lighting guy there. And I think I was 17. Yeah, we did the Ramones 3 shows every year. We took out every stool, railing, everything. And it was awesome. And I got to actually hang out with the Ramones the first time I did them because they stayed at the Midway Motor Lodge on Van Dyke, which was close to where I lived. So I was like, yeah, I'll come back for a drink. I was just like, holy shit.
The Battle of Midway.
Yeah, in the middle of suburbia, like nobody knew where they were staying or anything. And I kept my quiet. I didn't tell anybody. I'm going to tell you where they're staying, but holy shit, that was cool. Yeah.
Partying with the Ramones.
They seem like an interesting group of characters.
I mean, the only one that was still, like Arturo, the guy that came up with the logo and made all their merch,
yeah.
he was partying. Like, I remember the first show, me and Chico, R.I.P., worked for Seduce for 100 years. We're running Spotlight. And he's like, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. Are you guys ready? And I'm like, yeah. And we had headsets on. We were out. The three of us were 2 feet away from each other. And he lifted up a cigar box with a giant mound of cocaine and goes, moved it with his hands, made 3 lines. He goes, do it. We're ready to go.
What Mr. Moyanis means by cocaine is Peruvian nose yoga. It's a health regimen.
Yeah, it's a supplement.
It was a supplement. That's good. It's a supplement taken nasally. It's not an illegal substance.
Not at all.
What's necessary if you're in the Ramones?
So what you're insinuating to us is that the lighting department of rock and roll establishments might have used supplements?
Yeah, that's why I don't have a lighting guy at Smalls, by the way. Sorry, Jeff Davies.
Great. So, I mean, what was the time frame on that? Like, you're just a jerk watching Seduce, and then next thing you know, you're hanging out with the Ramones.
Yeah, I mean...
How long did that take? And what approximate years are we talking? The 80s?
It was like 83
Okay.
when I went to that show. By 86, I was working at Tracks.
Yeah, their Tracks heyday for the Ramones, I think, was right around like 83, right through 87, I want to say.
Yeah,
maybe
like-
even a little later.
It wasn't just them, too, though. They're like... all those bands used to come through. Like,
Yeah, the Mystery Girls opened for them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Remember them?
Mystery Girl shot. Right out of the gate, we got a Mystery Girl shout out.
Well,
Okay.
you know, one of the so yeah, I started kind of like going to the Seduce shows and helping Tom, and there was a falling out at some point with like the original crew, and I kind of stuck around, forsaking my friends, stuck around for the music, and started working for the band. But then Murder Style, my buddy Richie, was in Murder Style, and he's like, hey, we're playing the show, will you work for us? And I was like, yeah, sure. And like we opened up for Thunders at Tracks.
Johnny Thunders, that is.
And the Damned at St. Andrews, and
Wow, that would have been a
they were so the Mystery Girls and Murder Style had like this huge rivalry. They hated each other. I'm more glam and girly than you are more glam and
This is
girly.
a great time to say you can call into our show. Even though we're in Detroit, it's 248-809-5004. So if you were in the Mystery Girls, Dave, Kevin.
Stop it, Kevin.
Or if you were in Murder Style, Al Valentine.
Yeah, I don't think Al owns a
Yeah,
phone.
but yeah, so anyway, yes, call into the show if you have a question about this. So you're in the middle of this big Aquanet-fueled rivalry.
It was this was more than Aquanet. There was a lot of makeup.
Yeah, there was.
A lot. There's a lot of jingling bracelets. I remember being in the studio with Murder Style going, dude, you got to take off all those bracelets. The microphones
Rob
are
Asher,
picking up
could you
everything.
dig up? Could you Google pictures of Murder Style or the Mystery Girls?
But
That Murder Style,
you know, well,
can
Rich-
find on Facebook.
Richie was like the guy that was like, come on, dude, you should start working for us. And I was like, well, if Seduce is not playing, I'll do it. And started with that. And, you know, Richie passed away a little bit ago.
Yeah, Richie, he was a great guy.
But he got to play at Smalls 2 days before. And he hadn't played for like a year. And like the guys in Coven, a bunch of guys I went to high school with. And him.
Yeah, shout out to Coven, my good buddy Dave Landrum.
Landrum.
Yeah, who's been around forever.
Creta,
Yeah, I know
McGuckin.
him, yeah. He was
He was actually an original
member.
member of Son of Sam, legendary Detroit punk band, and then he moved on to Dance Macabre. And everybody, when he was in Dance Macabre, they were playing St. Andrews, and people thought that he sounded like Bowie.
He
I
did.
mean, for real, yeah. I mean, he really and
He's
then
like Bowie with a giant sword. It's like Bowie meets Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
right on. There you go, Dave Landrum. So check that band out if you get a chance. I mean, I don't know if Coven is going to go on without Richie. If they can,
I
go
just saw something that they're going to release some stuff that Richie played on.
on. Right on.
I mean, Landrum's a badass. He keeps posting pictures of Richie, which I saw one at 4 a.m. the other night as I was falling asleep, and I was like, oh, that's a great picture. And then I had a dream I was trying to call Richie that night, so I was like, okay, I'm not looking at Facebook right before I go to bed.
That's probably a good thing not to do in general. No Facebook before bed. You'll have bad dreams, right?
You just get riled
There
up.
you go.
Yeah, you're either pissed off or you have weird dreams, one of the two.
Yeah, Facebook can piss you off. Try winding
Oh,
down.
really?
with-
Have you
with
ever
Instagram.
watched me on Facebook?
Yes, I have, and we're not talking about that. Okay, so
The Jim Leland rants.
so you're
were
in the
best.
middle of this. You're in the middle of this rivalry between the two bands. What happens next? Where did Mike Moyanis go once you got out of that Donnybrook and melee?
Well, yeah, that slap fight. Kind of just started working. Well, Tom was also working at St. Andrews then, so he started bringing me along, and that jackass Chris Panacki hired me to start loading shows. And so I started loading there and doing lights and whatnot there. We had some of the craziest kick-ass shows ever, like Iggy Pop. I ran lights, but they were like, oh, we don't have a lighting guy. Who knows how to run lights? I was like, well, I do, so I'm the lighting guy for Iggy Pop, a show that we probably turned away 500 people at.
Was that the Riff Iggy Pop show?
No.
What year are we talking?
Cold Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Cold Metal was like the single. I don't remember the name of the record.
It's like the late 88.
Yeah. But he hadn't played here in a while, and people were flipping out. And
I think I was at that show. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
yeah, it was great show.
Because I remember there was
he still had it. He'd already been around 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
But he was just crushing it.
Absolutely.
He still has it now.
He still is. He still is. It's amazing.
Well, one of the tours we did with Seduce was that tour. Seduce opened up for Iggy Pop all through Canada in like hockey arenas, like 5,000 seat hockey arenas. Wow. I got to see Iggy Pop every night, and it was like Andy McCoy from Hanoi Rocks was playing guitar. Can't remember his name. The guy from the UK Subs was playing bass. It was kind of like a star-studded band that he had, which also got us in trouble at the border at one point.
Yeah. What kind of trouble was that?
Well, they had a bus, and we were in a van and a trailer, and they had a locked safe, which none of them knew the comm for, so there was nothing in it. Tried telling customs that when you're Andy McCoy, high as a kite, crossing a border at 4:30 in the
Get
morning.
the Bob Probert treatment.
We had to sit there until somebody woke up at the bus company and could send them the combination to open it up to show them there was nothing in it.
Jeez.
And we got sucked into it because we were with them. We were talking with each other at customs, so we probably had more drugs in our van than they did. But I don't know, Dave Black, where'd you hide it?
The Neutral Slam podcast does not condone drugs. We're just telling amusing anecdotes about life on the road in the rock and roll business. And really, we will get to the evolution of live music in Detroit, but we're not going to stop Mike Moyanis from telling sordid stories on our program. So you were used to touring
Yeah.
at a young age, but then you became...
Well, yeah, then I went back to St. Andrews, and I was just working at St. Andrews all the time, and something happened. I was like the crew chief there and running lights, and I remember waking up early and Perry Lavoie calling me going, hey, a shooting happened or something. Somebody shot a gun off, and I'm not even going to say his name, the guy that was managing it at the time told all the employees to lay down in the coat check room, and he laid down too while mayhem was happening. He's like, can you take over? And I'm like, do what? And he's like, be the manager. And I was like, yeah, I already kind of run the place anyway. So,
and in that era, St. Andrews was the #1 live venue for
oh yeah,
for and what they had termed alternative acts, which just seems that name just seems so bland and homogenized now.
But it's for real. Like, I remember, like, In Excess hadn't put out a record for a few years, and they hadn't toured the States in a few years, and the first show they ever played in the States was St. Andrews. So they came and they did this whole, like, press conference on the stage and did their first show of the U.S. tour that they were doing, like, 3,500 seaters. Their first show was St. Andrews because they wanted to come back to their roots.
Which is capacity about, what, 12, 14?
It was 1,000 at the time.
At the time, okay.
I don't know what it is. I know it went down to 8, but then Live Nation pumped a bunch of money in, and they have wider fire exits. And I don't know what it is now.
Wider fire exits and richer fire commissioners. And
stairs that might work now. And
I'm not insinuating any wrongdoing. Disclaimer.
You're just super disclaimer guy.
Welcome,
It's Jimmy Disclaimer Doom.
Welcome to the Neutral Slam podcast, where we'll have 3 lawsuits before we're off the air.
You wanted me first.
I do. I'm glad we have you first. Yeah.
I mean, the best St. Andrews show I think I saw was 1984. I kind of remember the day that it was the Tigers were doing their 35-5. That was over, but they were still. Sparky got ejected. And then we went and saw the Cramps at St. Andrews Hall, and that was a mind blower.
That's was a song right there. Sparky got ejected, then we went and saw the
Vertical
Cramps.
Pillows opened for him. So
that should at least be a lyric. That should at least be a lyric.
Hi, Dana. I think Dana promised she would listen in.
I thought the Tigers were 32-8.
That's right. What did they do? What, 34-6 or something crazy?
No, they were 35-5.
What was Lux Interior's batting average?
Well, he took off his. He had his leather pants or pleather, and he basically wrung it out over his mouth and like drank his own sweat. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's good to have goals,
to
Paul.
That point,
it's
or
really
right
good to
now,
have goals.
Because like if it's
still
to
there.
right now, I'm a little
there.
worried.
No, it's still there.
Yeah, Lux Interior wringing sweat is the coolest thing.
Goals, life goals. # life goals.
I mean, that's why, like him and Iggy, I mean, these guys just never cheated their audience. And they played a long time. You just never, I mean, I think I saw from that time on, from 1984, I think I saw every Cramps appearance in Detroit, except for one when I was on vacation in Europe. But those guys never...
Very, very bougie, Paul. Very bougie.
They never cheated an audience. Never mailed
for sure.
it in. It's hard to do. Just like ALD. You guys... Never cheated.
That was by accident, though. The buzz hit it.
Even the Sex
time.
Pistols cheated the audience. Remember, Rob, when he
Texas, right?
Yeah, in Texas.
I mean, I think plenty of bands have, and we might as well segue into, what are live music. A lot of people aspire to tour and do things. What are some of the things you saw either on the road or at a house venue you worked at that were really disappointing? Because you said it in the intro that you don't really like music that much anymore.
No, I mean I do.
I know you do,
get
but
jaded though running a club.
there are bands,
Yeah.
and here's another one, Murphy's Law, that they're always entertaining.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, you were at the show. I made you get up and sing with them.
Yeah.
You're like, no. I'm like, get up there. But they played 90 minutes. What they played? 9 songs.
Yeah, I mean, but it's an entertaining show.
It was
the
a great show.
Doesn't feel
They don't-
cheated. They
they
feel
don't-
part of it.
Yeah, because Jimmy talks to every single person in the goddamn crowd. Like he just
For
keeps
real,
going and
yeah.
going and going.
So,
I was like, get up there, stop him from talking.
So, I mean, but like, let's talk about some negative things you've seen. Some bands that they were subpar. Let's get some dirt. Might as well have some dirt.
Well, I mean, what? I'm not dumping dirt here. Are you kidding me? I don't know. There's no bands that I can remember that just sucked.
In all your years at St. Andrews, Michael?
See, okay, now you're calling me Michael James. I don't know. Like, I remember Big Country refused to play because everybody that's ever played St. Andrews knows about the radio frequency that used to come through, and it wouldn't stop, and they were freaking out.
I mean, didn't you just have to put tinfoil on your Marshall or something?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, but they were just such bitches. They just kept whining, and Panaki and the tour manager almost fought. which was great because I was like, "This is great. I don't care who wins."
Chris Panacki is not a household name in Detroit. I mean, but in the Detroit music business, he absolutely is. Everybody knows him as Cool Chris, and he is a character somewhere out of Gindin, out of Family Guy, out of Rock and Roll
Captain
High
Caveman.
School, Captain Caveman.
wow.
This guy's
For you
mixed-
younger listeners,
but this guy
just
has done sound for probably every major, at least a quote unquote alternative act, and just a wild man, knows his stuff.
Yeah.
and really,
I mean, he's no Bill Cozy.
He's no Bill Cozy, who's with us. In
Bill
the
Cozy,
building.
that's a shout out, Bill. I know I saw you
Yeah.
sitting there. I don't know if you're still around.
Yes, downstairs. We're in the Detroit Shipping Company, if you weren't previously aware of that. So if you'd like to drop by the studio, even, there's a bar downstairs.
And Bill is having a good hair day.
Bill's having a
Those
good
of you
hair
that know
day.
Bill,
Doesn't he always?
And
no, he does not always.
and an H2O. I just want to point that out. Bill is at the bar with an H2O.
Yeah.
Good for my man Bill Cozy. Sound engineers generally, like LDs, like to party.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you got to retire. But so if you ever enjoyed, our listening audience, if you ever enjoyed a show at St. Andrews, Cool Chris or Bill Cozy more than likely mixed those bands at some point.
Going to
Oh,
bad experiences there, which I don't know if you were part of this, but I just remember Eddie Spaghetti from the Super Suckers just was fuming pissed at somebody. He was just screaming at somebody.
At
that
St.
worked
Andrews?
there. Yeah.
I wasn't at that show.
I think it was him.
He's been real happy every time he's
I
played
think
Smalls.
they were opening for the Reverend Horton Heat, I believe. And I don't remember what year it was, but it might have been later. It
I've
might have
heard
been
about
later,
that.
but he just
I've heard
was
about
just,
that.
Screaming and pointing.
Well, I saw Yngwie Malmsteen play there, which was kind of a weird thing to be at St. Andrews at that time, but he
But
fired.
all the guitar gods, because I did a Steve Vai show there.
Well, Yngwie fired his monitor guy after 3 songs.
Wow. In mid-show.
Yeah, like mid, just get off the fucking stage, screaming, threw something at him. I was like, okay. Somebody's like, who's doing monitors? I was like, not me. He just fired a guy he knows. I'm not getting back there.
Well, he can't fire you. 'Cause
I mean, they
be his
could have tried.
replacement.
They could have tried.
I have it on good authority that monitor engineer is much more challenging than front of house because the crowd doesn't pay your paycheck.
The crowd doesn't pay you, and they can't go, can you take a little 10K out of this, please?
and the crowd doesn't have an ego. Like, yeah.
Well, this is Detroit. Let's not get crazy.
Okay, yeah, everybody in the crowd has an ego.
Everybody's in a band, so they,
Yeah.
I could do that
Everybody-
better. No, you can't.
And that is how music evolved because of technology. Is all these kids could grow up learning how to play guitar on YouTube. When back
Well,
in the, back in
honestly-
the old days, you had to have a teacher, like a real person in the house with you.
Honestly, I'll tell you, like, there's not a lot of young guitar players coming up. There's not a lot of young musicians of any kind coming up.
They play. It's download. They download. Their,
Well, because they can become a DJ real easy by sitting in their bedroom.
Jim Morrison predicted that. By the way, he basically said pretty soon it's going to be technology. The instruments are going to fall by the wayside.
Well, I mean, like when
I
I'm
want-
like,
I want Rob Asher to look that up. That Jim Morrison predicted the
look it up. Look it up.
the advent of the DJ. I also want Rob to see if we're getting any questions on the.
wait a minute,
Facebook
I
page.
do. You're in the Kaju Baseball League, aren't you?
I am.
That's how I knew you.
You guys don't know
I-
me? I thought you
I-
guys. When you guys, nice to meet you.
I said nice to meet you, and I was like, why do I know that guy? I'm like,
He's got this-
oh, I
he's got a
remember.
beard.
Matt, yeah, because you weren't at the draft live, I don't think, and
He's got this crazy beard.
Yeah,
No, too.
yeah, that crazy beard.
crazy beard. First
Take it
beard
easy,
ever.
Fu Man Paul.
And our
He's
rookie
the
engineer
A-Train, Rob
Samantha
Asher.
just
He's
went,
got
what
several
are these
nicknames."
guys talking about? They just went off on the hugest tangent in the world. And now she hates us. And she's on her phone.
I think she's hated us from the get go.
Oh.
Good luck with these guys from this point on, too.
But
by
we
the way.
lost her with that. What was the old guy reference? I mean, these are all been old guy references, but we would
Yes.
jump the shark with one of them.
You went all the way old with Jim Morrison.
You really did. It's all on you.
Everybody's
It's all
heard
on
of
you,
Jim
Mizuraka.
Morrison, though.
Yeah. I did not know that he predicted that DJs would take over the world.
Kind of. I mean, he didn't say DJs, but look it up, Robbie. I mean, you should be able to.
I don't see it on the after.
Okay, well,
after
screw
a
Jim
quick
Morrison.
search here.
If any of our listeners bothered to send us messages to the Facebook
But
page.
that's a big.
That
There's
happens.
not like there was always back in the day, and you know that there was always back in the day a bunch of 16-year-olds that are playing like their parents would drive them to the show or whatnot. There's no young ass bands anymore. There's a couple that actually draw really well, but there's so few of them now because there's not a like when people kind of graduate from the scene and stop playing music. There was always somebody else that was coming up. That doesn't happen anymore.
There's a couple I can think of.
There's a couple, but it used to be a ton.
I'll give them. I'll shout them out. I mean, the Stools. I mean, we were talking about them the other day.
Yeah, they
Jimmy
played
and I,
Kelly's when
you
I
know.
was at Kelly's booking Kelly's.
They kind of get it. You know what
Oh yeah, there's some great kids out there.
I'm not saying there's
Not-
none,
but
but
yeah,
yeah.
But
they're
there
fewer
used to
and far
be-
between, you know.
10 for every one that was kind of leaving.
I think I just caught our man Mike Moyanis, but I'm not going to punish him this time. This here is the A-Jar. And because we at the Neutral Slam podcast take pride in having good discourse, any of our guests or ourselves, if we end up saying the word awesome, which I just did, we have to put $1 in the jar. It costs you $1 to say that, so you will think about your answer.
Did I say that?
I'm not certain, Mike. I told you weren't going to be punished.
Can I get a playback, please? I'm kidding.
So, yes, for future reference, this is the A-Jar. We're going to collect dollars from anybody who overuses that word, A-W-E-S-O-M-E.
Even if you call up and play "Awesome Sound" by Ween,
You owe
you'll
a
get
dollar to
fined.
that.
I'll put
You're
a dollar
gonna-
in for that.
you're
I'll
gonna-
put a dollar
you're
in for
gonna
the
seed
disclaimer.
The pot. Yeah.
I know I'm sitting
Do I have
close to you,
change?
but I really dislike Ween. I don't get them at all.
I know. I know. There's people that
We've
are-
had
that
this
are
talk
haters.
before.
I think all I can really say to the people that don't like them is, I just want you to not like them for the right reasons. If they're not your cup of tea, that's
They're not
one
my
thing.
cup of tea.
But if you think they're a jam band and like Fish, and they're not like that at all. They
Oh,
do
no.
all, they do all.
In fact,
they
until you just
cross
said it, I
any-
never
every
actually thought they were. Now I am, but
What don't you like?
You,
What
if
don't
you
you
have
like
to
about
say
them?
that,
I just don't like
what-
them.
doesn't that like?
Because they have them. If they think they're a jam band, then they obviously haven't been exposed to 90% of their material.
Okay, so the albums are jammy, but they just play like the albums in live. Is that
No, they do all.
because
they
we
do-
asked
they
that
do
question
punk-
on
They do,
Facebook.
they do punk. There's some punk songs. You ever hear the song? It's gonna be a long night. I mean, that's like any one of the.
I think I've heard you do it.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
uh-huh.
do it. Yeah, Mega Weeds does it. Stroker Ace. Robbie was the original drummer for Mega Weeds. He knows.
I realize that.
So I mean, that's one thing. I mean, everybody has their opinion, and I'm fine with people not
Yes.
liking them. But when it's based on things that they don't know about the band, that's when it sticks in my craw a little
I've
bit.
seen them live a couple times. Like
And
I
that
watch
applies
shows.
to
I'm
just about anything in life.
Yeah, yeah.
When people are like, "Holy shit, Ween's coming to town," I'm like, "And?" But I like stuff that people don't.
Well, thanks for having us play at Smalls anyway. Then
Hey, you know, somebody
some good shows
somebody
and some
once
bad-
somebody once asked me like, "Who's your favorite band to book?" And I'm like, "The ones that draw."
yeah, yep.
Yes.
You could have a monkey
Absolutely.
shitting into a fan on stage, and it draws 300 people.
G.G. Allen.
Yeah.
You get every week.
We had our good turnouts, and then on our not so good turnouts, I think we're bad about 500 at Smalls. I think.
500 is a good average.
But yeah, I mean that's my only. I know there's other friends. I won't mention their names that I showed them some of these songs that they hadn't heard, and they're like, "Well, maybe I'll rethink this." But you guys, I mean, and Jimmy too. Jimmy and I argue about the Beatles. It's like there's contrarians that just. I think some people are just contrarians to say that they don't like the Beatles and don't really. But guys like you guys listen. You guys have your.
I think the Beatles
you
were
think
great
your
at what they
opinions.
did.
You think them through before. So
I just don't want. I don't want to listen to the Beatles anymore. But I think they were great at what they did.
Yeah, I think with me and
I have the
Beatles,
same thing with Led Zeppelin, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
Especially with
for
this
real.
resurgence in stoner rock, and everybody's got their opinion about Greta Van
Yeah,
Fleet,
yeah.
which I think is ridiculous. Like, it's a bunch of bitter old fucking people that never made it that are pissed off
Yeah,
because
that's
these
what it-
kids are, because they're nice kids, and they write decent songs, and they're a decent band. They're not great. They're not the best band in the world, but
Yeah, I'm not going to buy their records. I'm
And-
not going to see them live.
Yeah,
but
it's-
I'm not
somebody's
gonna-
buying their records.
I'm not going to.
Somebody definitely
I'm not
is.
gonna,
And how about Al Sutton
doing
for a
well.
Grammy? Al Sutton has produced tons of local bands at starting at White Room and moving to Rust Belt. And yeah, I mean, Al Sutton, a guy who, I mean, he produced a lot of bands for a lot of.
well, I think Greta Van Fleet did good in spite of Al. Fuck you,
go,
Al.
There you go, Al. That's all the love you're getting from this. No, really, I'm
Come
so
on, do you
proud of that
really
guy.
think he would stoop so low as to listen to something else that he isn't mixing? God, no.
I like the
Where's the camera at?
Giving us.
Fuck you, Al.
Yeah, we're down with this mix. How does it sound in
never
front of
met
house?
They were on
Wait,
Saturday Night Live.
when do-
man.
when
You
do we
gotta
go
give them
live?
credit.
Can we go back to hating
What are we
Led
actually
Zeppelin?
doing?
Because I'm down with
Oh,
that.
yeah, I hate Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, I'm just.
I think they should be barred from the radio. I'm sick of it. Like I'm in the sweet spot right now because my lease still has free Sirius, so I don't have to listen to Detroit radio, which apparently they have some kind of contract with Satan that says they have to play Led Zeppelin every fourth song. You know,
I can't say that.
since I was 5 years old, which is at least 20 years ago.
Here you go. I haven't listened to Detroit radio since Susie Cole left.
Wow.
We got Susie Cole into our first broadcast.
Wow.
Well, Susie Cole is rocking that shit out right now.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's in L.A.
She's in
Anyway.
La.
Yeah, good for
She's
her.
definitely in La.
But okay, well, let's go back to some live music.
Yeah.
I'm in the Foo Fighters overrated camp too. I'm not a huge.
Well, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, no, I mean, but at that point, everyone is overrated.
I'll
absolutely.
say this about the Foo Fighters. They put on a great fucking show.
Dave's a really good guy.
He's a really good guy. Chris Shiflett, a really good guy.
Yeah.
I met him through Suicide Machines.
Well, I could be biased. One thing I saw that stuck in my craw, and I don't think
I know it's very unpunk rock to like the Foo Fighters, but I don't care. I
No,
think
it's
they're
not.
the best American rock band right now, or in the world.
I mean, Dave Grohl had a shirt. I mean, we all love Lemmy. Everybody loves Motorhead. I think we're all in agreement on that. And maybe this is why. Maybe I am biased. But he had a shirt. And see if you can find this, Robbie. I saw somebody posted it.
Robbie has to find us somebody who has
Find
messaged our Facebook page.
They
to
posted
say
it
anything.
on
Has
Facebook.
anybody said anything?
But he had a T-shirt that said "Fuck Elvis, Lemmy is king," and I was like, "Dave, you can't. You're not. You don't have the you don't have the chops." To
Okay,
do that.
here's what I'm going to say. If you're on the road 310 days out of the year, you're probably going to wear any clean T-shirt somebody hands you.
I don't.
No, he was
I don't
like
honestly,
flaunting it. He
I
was
don't honestly
flaunting
think that Dave Grohl hates Elvis, or you.
Well, he might now after I just.
Well, maybe now, because I'm quite sure he's listening.
I just think as a front man, he makes a really good drummer for interpreting Kurt Cobain's.
Dude, come on.
creations.
Name a better frontman than him.
I haven't seen him live, but
Well, then,
yeah. Well,
3 hours of
there's-
just nothing but high energy and entertainment.
But yeah, I do have. I think there's frontmen that I think are better. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the songs I like. I don't. They're not
It's
all
the
good
Elvis
to
thing.
me.
It's the Elvis thing. It just killed Joe.
Maybe a little, but I mean, I try to listen to it. I mean, I'm like you guys. I try to like listen to the stuff before I make a judgment like that. But
So the next poll for Neutral Slam is Ween versus Foo Fighters.
yeah, I'd like to see that. I think.
Actually, you would not like to see that, Paul.
Yeah. What was the guy that said he was going to wrap Mike Tyson in a cocoon of horror? Peter McNeely. It would be like Tyson versus McNeely, the Foo Fighters versus.
Yeah, McNeely, he was really good.
Okay, Mike. I'm going to put you on the spot.
All right.
Right now, with guitars, locally, who I don't mean who's going to get big. I don't mean any of that. Who is a local band that steps on the stage and puts on a show worthy of the level of the Foo Fighters? I don't have to sound anything like them, obviously, but a rock, metal, punk, I don't care what band right now.
Well, anytime the Suicide Machines take the stage, it's as high energy as you're going to ever see, and it
Bias
never
alert.
total bias. But I don't give a shit. I'm not fucking wrong.
Okay, well, no, okay.
I'll admit when I'm wrong, but
I
I'm
don't.
not.
I love the
and
Suicide
and they're
Machines.
old as fuck, and they still go out there and kick all of these fucking people's asses. Like, but as like a new band that just played Smalls recently, Midas came out, and it's just a great show.
What are they all about?
It's kind of stoner rocky. It's guys from Wild Stallions and sorry, Anthony, I'm fucking up the name.
Oh,
of
it's
the band.
Anthony. Yeah,
Franchina's band. What the hell's the name of his band?
I can't believe we're blanking.
You know, Anthony, if you're listening, you could text us.
Yeah, you. It's not
Call us at
Buffalo.
248-809-5004.
It's an animal. Come on.
It is an animal.
Anthony's main band is an animal. It's
What I know is
Bison Machine.
Bison
Machine.
Bison
I am
Machine.
the king of local rock trivia. I figured out Bison Machine.
Yes, you are the king. Here, put on your crown. They were great. There's a lot of good bands out there right now, actually. That there's no young good bands that I see. I'm not saying none, but
And I didn't want to gloss over the Suicide Machines. Jay has been doing that for so long, and
yeah,
I mean they were an important. I thought about this today, but like that they were an important band to the Detroit scene.
they were super important.
They were. The
I got
Detroit
lucky,
band that
like-
did the Warped Tour.
I first couple times I had to work with them. I was like, these jackass punk kids and pulling kids on my stage, doing like the 89X Fest and stuff like that at Phoenix Center, and then Royce started coming to St. Andrews all the time. He's like, you need to come out and work with us. You need to come out and work with us. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. And I think it was about 2 hours after Blair goes, do you like working at St. Andrews, Mike? And I go, Blair, I'm in a good mood. I get in my car. I start getting a headache. Halfway down 75, I'm in a bad mood. By the time my key hits the door, I'm just pissed off. I'm like, so no, I don't like working here anymore. He's like, well, maybe we should make a change. I'm like, dude, I told you could have fired me while I was laying in bed. You didn't have to make me come down here. But I think it was
And that's how it went down.
no, for real. That's how it went down. And like 2 hours later, I called Royce and went, yeah, I'll do it. And like, I think I was unemployed for 2 days, and I got flown to San Francisco, and we were doing the first day of the Warped Tour.
Nice. I was going to ask you how that Suicide Machines thing went down.
They asked me 37 times. I told them, shut up, leave me alone, shut up, your hair's stupid. Why do you have holes?
Shut up, your hair's stupid.
Why do you have holes in your ears and your nose at all times? Like, stop it. And then, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll come. And I did like 5 years with those guys.
Mike, I wanted to ask you, I know maybe you're tired of talking about it, but how you got involved with Grindr. I know how, for all your youngsters, I mean, Grindr was a band. You know, I know there's a different
No, for the
reference.
youngsters, Grindr is a
Well, no,
male-on-male.
That's what I'm
dating
saying.
site.
They might not know what the original Grindr was.
Yes, it was a
Funny
band
that
with an
Jimmy
E.
knew right away about Grindr.
That's fine.
But
That's
I
fine.
know, actually, my nephews just told me about that one. But Darren's, I know why he started it. He started it to raise money for Konstantinov and Matsukhanov when after the limo accident, and they did Step Outside. But next thing you know, they're touring and stuff. How did you get involved with managing them? And
Well, Jimmy's brother Robbie was playing bass for him, and he's like, dude, I'm telling you, they'd love to do something, but nobody wants to take charge. And I went to whatever show. I was always out of town touring when they played. Like, I was out of town when they would win. I can remember we kept playing this place called Peabody's in Virginia Beach. The one year it was the World Series ended. The next year we stopped the show because the Wings had just won the Cup. And Melissa Matuzak had moved to D.C. and was running whatever Live Nation bought up in D.C. at the time, but it wasn't Live Nation then. She got me 6 tickets, like 4 rows behind the bench, to see Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. But they took 3 days off in between. We had 2 days off. I can remember Jay Navarro, by the way, going, fuck it, tell the label I got arrested and we'll go to the game. We'll miss the show. And I was like, yeah, we're getting paid really good. And he's like, how good? And I told him, and he goes, all right, we got to go do the show. But so we made the we stopped the show and made him keep the screen on, and so we could watch it.
Right.
And the whole crowd's like, "Who cares?" Well, they're in Virginia. They're like, "Who the hell cares about the Detroit Red Wings?" So I'm like, "Well, we do." But Robbie was like, he was on that tour too, doing merch. I remember he came running across the stage, and I think we got shots and whatever. But Robbie was like, "You should come and do this and take over." And then finally, I was in town when Darren got the cup. And the next day, I was supposed to leave at 7 in the morning to go to Japan with the Machines and Les and Jake. And I stayed out till 4 because we had the cup and we were going everywhere.
This was after, like, in the summer of 90 or 80, 97?
I don't know.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah,
cup.
yeah,
The
it
first
had to have
cup.
been.
The
Yeah, it
first
was.
cup. The
Yeah.
first time they won.
And so I finally got to be there for one of the parties. And I was like, "You guys should do more shows." And he's like, "Can you make it happen?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, well, drink out of the cup." And I was actually, my arm, like, there's a picture of, like, Darren and I think Chelios and somebody else pouring the cup into somebody's mouth. It's actually mine, but I'm not in the picture. My hand is on it, but it was, like, on the front page, like, party time or something like that. So I started just booking shows, and it was not that hard. And we give a lot of the money to charity, which Darren had as the foundation,
Right.
and it just kind of kept going. I was like, "Hey, we can do next weekend too." Like, he was married and couldn't leave all the time, so I was like, "Well, we could do the next 30 days in a row if you wanted." You can't do it, so we were doing like 3 and 4 day runs, and
Yeah, and I know I think I read his book. I think he did a 80 city. That was the biggest tour. Did he do an 80 city tour?
I think I was gone by that
Okay.
point.
But I mean, and it always goes hand in hand. I think. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the athletes want to be rock stars, and the rock
absolutely.
stars want to be.
There was a day that the Boston's played at Crowfoot that all the Wings were there, and the Boston's were super excited to meet them, and the Wings were super excited. I was like, "This is hilarious." I can remember taking Darren. Foo Fighters played Kobo, and Maria Suker let Darren park his car right behind, like, where the loadout door is, and I was waiting outside for him, like, "Okay, come on in, I'm going to introduce him." And we're walking in, he's like,
He
"Holy shit."
mentions that in the
He's
book.
like, "Holy shit, Dave Grohl's right there. Dave Grohl's right there." I go, "Dude, be cool. You're famous too. Relax." He was like, okay. Like, took a couple breaths. He was like,
Yeah, I
"All
would've
right."
been
And
like,
he
"Yeah,
was
whatevs,
he was
whatevs."
totally fine when he did it, but, like, right, because there was, like, this little window in the door, and he looked in and went, "Oh, holy shit, that's Dave Grohl." I'm like, "Yeah, who'd you think you were going to meet?" But
You are listening to the Neutral Slam podcast, and I'm thrilled that we got to make that point tonight, that there's not this cavernous or gargantuan gap between athletes and rock stars and
no, they
sports
both
and
want to
music.
be they want to be each other.
They want to be each other. So the people out there in social media land that complain about sports ball, the people
I hate
the
the
people
sports
that
ball.
you worship, the guy playing keyboards, the drummer, whoever, the woman doing vocals, those people appreciate what athletes do. And it really drives me nuts that people sports is stupid. It's just stupid. No, it's a talent. Just like playing
It's the
guitar
same
is a
difference.
talent.
You've been playing
Skating
guitar
at 80
since
miles
8
an hour is
Yeah.
a talent.
Well, it
They
has-
should all be appreciated, not one or the other. That's really
I mean,
ridiculous.
it has the same intensity, a playoff game or a show in front of 50,000 people or whatever.
Or back in the day when, like, bands had to do showcases for a labels coming into town. It's the same thing as Game 7, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And then
God, I hope I don't fuck this up and the whole city hates me or my whole band hates me or whatever,
I mean, if I had a dollar for every, I'm not going to mention any names, but any performer that was somewhat uninspiring, you see them
Have
perform.
you watched the Pistons this year?
And then they say, then they're into the sports ball. Oh, sports ball. This. I'm like, aha! No wonder your stage presence was boring. You don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
and they're not all like that, but I'm not going to mention the people that I think are
Call
like
them
that.
out.
But I
Let's
will
make this a total call-out
but
podcast.
I'll go the other. I'll go the other extreme though, and I'll mention a guy who gets it. He's a sports fan, and he's actually a former professional athlete. He was a wrestler, and that's Steve Beggar from the Beggars.
Yeah.
And you can see it in his performance. He just delivers every time.
Oh,
He's
for
just
sure.
a
For
fantastic
sure.
entertainer.
He's a fantastic
So,
performer, fantastic guy. And now let's segue right from the beggars into our buddies at Rocket Printing. And I want to thank them for sponsoring this show, as it were. Rocket Printing, rocketonestop.com. They do my headshots, but don't hold that against them. They do fantastic printing work there in Royal Oak. Rocket One
A
Stop.
guy with your exact voice works there, too.
A guy with Jay Strangler is an employee.
Yeah, he
at,
does.
Oh, is he really?
the
Okay.
immortal
Yeah, he
Jay
is.
Strangler. Yeah. Jay Strangler of Hillside Stranglers, now Detroit 442 fame.
Nice.
And, a great guitar player. And I thank Tony today because Tony does take care of the local cultural scene and musicians. And,
I've
He's-
seen him.
Yeah,
on
I
stage
have to
with
go to
him.
Rocket tomorrow to pick up tickets and posters and menus and stuff for upcoming shows.
tickets, posters, menus. Now, you know some of the stuff they do. Yes, use Rocket Printing
my.
because we love them. And then you get to see Jay Strangler, who's a rock star, and you can act like a starstruck athlete and freak out. Oh, my God, Jay Strangler. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I didn't think I would ever say those words like
Yeah,
that,
that was fucked
but I
up,
did.
man.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I try my hand at both, but the best that I've done, I think, is I'm a pretty decent feather bowler. I think that's all. That's all
at
I
the
got.
Caju Cafe.
That's all I got.
Yes. If you've never feather bowled, which is a good chance you probably haven't feather bowled, but if you have, you've done it at the Caju Cafe.
I haven't in
Have you
years
ever
because the
feather
last
bowled,
time I
Sam?
did on that team with Robbie and
No.
Ryan and Chris,
It's fun.
we were up like 7-1 in the final, and we got whatever they ran away with the rest of it. We never got, and I was like, I'm never playing this
It's a
game again.
heartbreaking game, man.
I said I'm never playing it again,
It's
and
really
it's one of the only
frustrating.
things I've ever kept my word on.
It's
I've
very,
never played
it's
again.
very frustrating.
This
This is actually the last. I mean, this is the last night from the men's league, and there's 3 or 4 people fighting for the grand champion tonight. Could have been decided already.
Have you felt a
and the grand
disturbance in the
champion gets
force or anything?
the grand champion gets a portrait, right?
Yeah, you
like
get
a real
portrait.
oil
Yeah,
painting
yeah,
of
yeah,
themselves.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So the Caju Cafe, who did not sponsor this show, but maybe they will sponsor future shows. That's where you want to go get some Belgian beer and embarrass yourself at feather bowling.
And I don't have the pull to make them the sponsor anymore. But
Today, as a matter of fact, this morning, half
got
of
my
the
jersey
side
on. I
thought
got my,
that the Caju Cafe burned down because
Oh, that was
two
right there.
homes behind it
that was
burned
literally
down.
It was right next to my
And-
grandmother's house.
Yeah.
Literally like right next door to it.
Yeah, crazy. So we are running out of time. Mike, having seen so much and done so much in the business, and I want to also let you plug some stuff. But what would you say to young bands now if they are not DJs and they're guitar players, they're musicians with a band? What to do at a live show? How to behave?
Well, how
Give
about
them
this?
some
First
advice.
off, don't book one show every weekend within 10 miles of each other. Make shows events like bands used to. Not everybody back in the day was ALD and Seduce. Like, it didn't matter. People just showed up because they heard they were playing. But there's so many different options now, so many different bars. Everybody with 10 feet of space and a microphone as a promoter or a venue. So bands say yes to everything. Stop saying yes to everything. Don't play every 3 weeks maybe in Detroit. Go play Ann Arbor. Go play Toledo. Go play someplace else. Like bands are like, oh yeah, we're doing a little tour of the Detroit area. I'm like, what do you mean? You just played 2 bars in Hamtramck, 1 downtown and 1 in Ferndale in 4 straight days, and you're wondering why your crowd isn't that big. Make things an event. Don't count on social media to do everything, because that's all anybody does. Well, I made a Facebook event. Make a fucking flyer. Make a flyer and take it out to other shows. Go out and see other shows and talk to other bands and get a kinship going with other bands and trade shows. And especially if you go out of town, you go to Toledo, you see a band that drew a bunch of people, try and get a show with them, give them a show in Detroit. It's not that hard. You got to do some networking. You got to do some work. You can't just sit there and bang on your goddamn computer and expect everybody's going to come out and see you every time you post an event.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good bands that play way too often, and I've yelled at those bands as I'm giving them $100 instead of $1,000 because I'm like, well, I got no problem paying everybody when
You're right
it's
about
packed.
the networking.
You have
go
to
to
do it.
somebody else's show, they come to your show.
Yeah.
It used to be fun to make flyers. I mean,
Yeah. But, it used to go, I've gone out with you before. Like, we're going to have some drinks and we're going to pass out flyers at this other show.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, you could meet a girl or a boy if you pass out a flyer to them. You have something to talk about.
You could meet your non-binary soulmate. So
whatever. For you shy people, which I don't know any of, but I've never hung out with any of. But like whatever,
I hung out
man.
with the guys in The Shy before. Remember them? They're still around, actually.
That's
The
my
Shy.
biggest thing is make your show an event. Don't even if your band ain't great, draw a bunch of people and I'll have you back.
And we out.
You know what I mean? Like, have
That-
fun when you're doing it too. Don't be nervous about it. It's just a
running
fucking
a
show,
venue,
man.
Yeah, running a venue. If they can be doing Gregorian monk chants, and if they bring in 60.
I told you, monkey shitting into a fan. Not Gigi Allen.
Damien from Detroit can kick your ass. Calls it whale fuckers. That's what he thinks bad
You gotta
noise
have,
music sounds like.
We gotta have Jeff, my friend.
Well, he
Jeff
would know
Hicks,
because Damien goes to every show at every venue every night. I don't know how the guy sleeps or lives. I think he's a vampire. I'm not sure.
That's cool though. Chicks
Yeah.
dig
No, it's-
vampires.
Speaking of Gigi Allen, we got to get our friend Jeff Hicks to call in sometime and tell us about his experience at Todd's when he worked at Gigi's show. He said it was
And
Very
how about
interesting.
Busby Death Chair? They're going out with Murder Junkies. Which,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Merle Allen.
Yeah, and they're playing in like Allen Park.
so. Who's like the singer of?
Oh,
the
they're
Murder
playing
Junkie?
like
How do you,
St. Louis. They're playing the Midwest, and the show just
No,
happens to be in Allen Park.
I know, but I was
yeah.
like, really? Does Allen Park
Yeah.
know what they're getting into?
So how do you get who's the new Gigi? I mean, that's like it's hard to.
Fifi? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, did we need a new
I mean,
Gigi?
he quit drinking, so
Yeah,
he
there
was
you
out. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't think I rarely
Nah.
crossed over into Gigi territory.
No, you didn't.
I just don't like the way I look in a jockstrap. I studied on doing it, but then
None of us do. Paul. None of us do.
You
All those pictures you were trying to show us before we came on air.
It's like, Mike, get me in the smalls. I'll be the new Gigi.
Hey, Mike, before we
By the way,
end
Rob
this,
just vomited in
before
his
we
mouth.
end this party, would you like to plug anything? I mean, Mike, I don't think we've even said it out loud that Mike manages Smalls in Hamtramck. And,
Yeah,
the
we've
owners.
owned Smalls for 15
He's
years.
the owner. You have a 20-year
20-year. We've
party
owned it for
coming up.
15. We bought it from Perry and Jeff, who now are restaurateurs and are kicking ass. But
that would be Imperial and Antihero
in Public House.
and Public House. Yeah, there you go.
But
Three
yeah, we
free
bought it from
plugs
them
you guys owe me.
15 years ago, and it'll be the 20-year anniversary this year. We got the Grand Nationals back together.
Yeah, I heard about
on
that.
September
That's
27th.
fantastic. Yeah.
They haven't
I
played a
love those
show,
guys.
and
Great guys too. I mean, talk
Oh.
about a good band, and like every time I stay at a hotel, that song that they have.
me at the
sing it. I'm
hotel.
singing
Stevie
it.
Michael, sing it. I'm stoked about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's it's a long time in this business.
Speaking of old fuckers and doing shows forever, I'm doing brunch on this Sunday with the Orbitsons.
Wow, nice. Yep.
We did it a few
If
weeks
you don't
ago.
know
and
it,
it was packed.
Orbison's is Vinny from Sponge fame.
Yeah, Vinny Dombrowski.
Go get yourself a human wreckage breakfast burrito or something.
It's well.
Are you doing your barbecue thing too this summer?
I'll be doing a couple barbecue events this summer. Not as many as in years past because a lot of them, the event people suck, so people don't show up, but they want you to pay a bunch of money to do it. So I'll just keep doing it as pop-ups here and there. And then Saturday we've got Strangelove, which is a Depeche Mode tribute.
Oh yeah, yep.
And they are badass. Depeche Mode actually posts this band's dates on their site saying, if you can't see us, go check these guys out.
Wow, that's
So
high
they're-
praise.
Endorsed by Martin.
I'm gonna cry my eyes out if we close this show with a Depeche Mode reference. Come on, Mike. Give
And
us-
then
give us something
I
else.
want to announce that Jimmy Doom is going to do it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you are kidding. No,
He's
the Grand
like, wait,
Nationals,
wait.
that's great.
Yeah,
Tony,
the Grand
Stevie,
Nationals
I'm glad
great.
they're back. That's yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, in the jar. You owe $1.
Yeah, fuck off.
Yes, we got him.
I owe you $1.
No, it's cash.
Oh,
That's on delivery
coming.
right here.
I also got Sick of It All
It'll
coming
go to
June
charity.
1st.
Yeah, sick of it all. June 1st.
Wow.
We will be there.
Nashville Pussy and Guitar Wolf May 24th.
They put on a good show. Talk about never cheating the audience.
And here's
Nashville
because I'm
Pussy.
going to end this with going, you guys are fucking awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Mike.
Mike.
You're awesome too.
What?
Thank you.
What am I too?
Oh,
you got him.
Oh,
You gotcha.
You set your trap, and he walks right in.
oh, God, he baited the trap. And
Do
he
I have to pay
got
for
me.
you? You know what?
Thank
I'm going to
you,
pay it for
all
you.
you non-A-word people out there. Thank you for listening to the inaugural Neutral Slam podcast with Paul Miz and Jimmy Doom. I am Jimmy Doom. That's Paul Miz. That's Rob Basher. And over here our Stadler without his Waldorf, Mr. Kevin Quinn.
Not Kevin Quinn from the trial.
Not Kevin Quinn from the trial. Kevin Quinn from Fun Hog.
There we go.
Ah, that's how I recognized you. Okay.
We're all
I
like,
love
hey,
that.
wait,
Yeah,
why
I
do
love
know
Fun
you?
Hog.
And thank you to our friends at Rocket Printing, rocket1stop.com. Get your stuff there, all your flyers. Bands start making flyers. Thanks to our rookie engineer, Samantha. You are ridiculously good. We appreciate you, and we appreciate all of you listening in. 2 weeks from today, Jason Hall of Ride Detroit.
Who, by the way, Jason Hall used to work for me at St. Andrews.
I know that, Michael. I was there.
Stop calling me Michael.
And don't stop listening to the Neutral Slam podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again to the.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks again to the Detroit Shipping Company for having us, and
And
we'll be seeing you in 2
Detroit.
weeks.
Yep. That was fun, guys. That's good.